Welcome, everyone. My name is David Hamilton. I'm the founder and chairman of the America's Future Series. I'd like to welcome you to our podcast, Future Talks. Today, we're here with Kenn Leuzinger, a great and good friend who's been an advisor to the America's Future Series for a number of years. We're really excited to have his company, SeeHere Technologies, as the title sponsor of our upcoming event a week from now, which is our National Security Dual Use Technology Summit. And just wanted to invite Kenn to come on. He's the Chief Innovation Officer for SeeHere Technologies. Wanted him to talk a little bit about their involvement in the America's Future Series, their sponsorship as the title sponsor of this event, and share a little bit about his company, because I think it's a perfect example of the kind of companies that we want to showcase during these programs, especially this event on 2/22. So welcome, Kenn. How are you today?
Thank you for having us, Dave. We're really excited to be a part of America's Future Series, and we're a patriotic company. We're an American company, and we're so honored to be a part of this.
Thank you. You know, you've been a big supporter, as I said, of the America's Future Series for a long time. Your company is I think is a really great example of the kind of technologies that our government and our defense industry and our defense department need to take care of. So if you could tell us a little bit about your technology and some of its benefits, what does it do that is so much better in the areas of security, in the areas of flexibility, use of data, et cetera. Tell us a little bit about the SeeHere technology.
Sure. Just be careful. I'm like one of those people that gets really excited. So when I start talking about it, I won't be able to stop. So
that's great.
So essentially what we've done is, and by we, I mean our tech team, not me. What we've done is we've found a way to blend different files together into one singular file. Now, when you do that, it's you essentially have a data container, but what we've found out we can do is we can encrypt each file separately with a different key. And so that's kind of the part that's really exciting, that I can have, I wanted to add audio, video, and text and code into one file because it was all related somehow. So like say movement orders. So I'm going to have a map, I'm going to have audio surveillance, and so I can have all those things in the same file. So I don't have to do anything special to associate the data together. It's all in the same file, but different people with different levels of access can access it. So we originally started doing this for companies to do advertising and then disability, but then we were like, once we realized, and then medical records, and when we saw you can encrypt each piece independently of the other pieces, I'm like, really, that's in our patent, and everyone's like, that has huge national security implications, and so then we realized that if we have this, because we wanted to make it like an encryption standard in terms of the file, and so we were like, we need to release this the right way. When we started this, and we were like going, because the easiest thing to do would be to just kind of release it out, open source into the world, and then charge people to consult on how to use it. That's the easiest thing, like Linux, and just making an open standard. The problem with that is this thing is great for medical records, taxes, insurance, government data. The problem with that is that same security, that same almost weaponization can be applied to things like gambling, pornography. And
if I can paraphrase this a little bit, what you're doing is you're able to take information and encrypt it down to the file level, and you can have multiple layers of encryption, which makes it much harder for anyone to decode any of that information, right?
Yes.
So it's a dramatic increase in security, because each part of a file is encoded, and you're able to give rights to different people. You're able to manage those rights by what key they have, right? So correct. This is a dramatic increase of security, right?
Right. So normally when you hear about cybersecurity or things like zero trust, you have everyone's like, we need to secure the system, right? We need to secure the system. If you watch any movie, the hacker's like, I'm in the system. I've done all this and I've broken into the system, or I've hired a guy to Snowden it, and I'm in the system because it's my job, and then I suddenly want to take stuff out of the system, right? Yeah. And so what we've done is, why don't we just secure the files? Now, I mean, the system's great. secure your systems, encrypt your systems, create zero trust barriers, create barriers, create security. But what if you actually encrypted the files separately, on top of their own, on top of everything else?
So yeah, I'm in the system. I have access to the stuff, but the problem is every bit of information here is encrypted down to the lowest possible level, right? And you could encrypt every single file if you chose to, but that's just normally a laborious process. You guys have a way of making that seamless, automated, et cetera, easy to do. So without having to go, I'm going to encrypt every single file, you can make that, you can have everything be encrypted down to the file level. You can have certain kinds of files encrypted, et cetera. Right? So there's a lot of control and usability for this that makes this easier for you.
Correct. Especially if like you're on the cloud and you want to control access. So if I'm sitting here and I'm gonna access my server, my cloud server, and then I'm gonna log in and go, I only have access to work with these files. I'll have access to work with these files. So, but those files are part of a greater whole. You put all those together, and then you only have access to that file in that greater whole. That adds a lot of security to it, and because you've done
much
that,
more granularity, right?
Right, and once you've done that, you can actually add analytics and metadata that says, okay, this person accessed it from.
Yeah, I now
here.
know who's been in it. I know what they've seen, et cetera, and I can limit that. Is this correct?
And what's crazy is not we, but whomever we license the codec to, whether it be the government or a large corporation, they can go, you know what? I'm going to shut that file off. So you can actually turn the file, as we call it, the kill switch. We can actually turn that file off, and then, or we can have the file be active from X dates to these dates. I want this
an expiration date, right?
Yeah, I want this file active until 12 p.m. March 23rd on whatever Thursday or whatever that is. And
which
so
which means they have to go back and ask you for the information again after a certain date, so that if somebody has it, it's no good to them. But because this person's trusted, you could give it to them again if you needed to.
Correct. That's right. And so it's like, and that's a use case for music, right? So if I have DRM of my music, digital rights management, if I want digital rights management of my music, I can release a version of it and then have that version expire, like have it be in a player like a Spotify or Amazon Music, and then have that song actually expire and go, okay, so if you want a longer version of it, sign up for my email, and then you get the actual, so there's all kinds of different marketing things for it, but there are all kinds of national security implications. And of course, that's why we're here, for national security implications. And so
this is one of the interesting benefits and problems with your technology. And I think you guys are a great example of a lot of companies that need to have somebody sit still long enough to understand the value, right? So we want to create a platform so that people will go, oh, it does this, and it does this, and it does this. Because, sometimes things are a little hard to just boil down to like 2 seconds, right? So one of the great things about what your technology does is it does multiple things, right? It makes things more secure, right? It makes them much more easily to manage, much more control. Right? I understand that. Also, it makes things more efficient, right? So if you're doing Bitcoin data mining, if you're doing blockchain, right? Because you're able to associate files and not have to use the larger file, you can do some sort of just represented with a key.
Right.
You might describe that. But as an example, that becomes an efficiency notion that makes a blockchain data mining faster.
Right. So especially NFT. That's the big one, right? Because because our files are immutable. So or we used to say immutable. Now we're trying to train ourselves to say non-fungible, right? Because that's so that's so what happens is so when you create a CHIF file, a SeeHere intelligent format file, it is unmoving, unchanging. No one can like open it up, insert code, and then back out, and then that can't happen because the file itself is immutable. So one of the drawbacks that we're seeing with NFTs is you can't put very large files in them because you put that whole file on the blockchain. What we do is we have what's called a universal unique identifier, and it's like a serial number, like for a VIN of a car or money. And then you have something like you have a SHA file, which is like I forgot what the acronym is, but it's like the fingerprint of the file. So you take those two things. So it's a couple lines of text, so a line or two of code. And you put that on the blockchain, which is much lighter than the 0100101 that makes up the actual object. And so that's why it's real hard to do video as NFT. So
Right.
we
This
could,
is kind of a unique
we could do
challenge
like
for you guys to describe what you do, which is it does a lot.
right.
It makes things far more secure. It makes it a lot easier for you to associate files with the other kind of files that you want to associate them with, right? Make it that much easier. It's much more manageable. You're also able to speed things up and make the processing lift much lighter.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So there's a myriad of values, et cetera. And so we need a forum, and this is why we love having you as part of the America's Future series and on this podcast, give people a sense of that. And if they want to learn more, if any of those benefits is of interest to them, they can then contact you, right?
Correct.
And that's what we want all of these solutions providers to be able to do. We want people to be able to see, companies to be able to, the Defense Department, we want to do the military, any tech scouts, et cetera, be able to come find a SeeHere and go, oh, I did not know you existed. You can do all of that.
Correct. Yeah,
That's
we started.
fantastic.
Yeah, we started originally in the disability community. That's why we don't have like we're not a government contractor, and so we really need literally someone to hold our hand and go. So we're going to do a government contract. We're going to make the Air Force's cloud more secure. We're going to make government more secure. And we're like, oh, okay. And then you utilize our API and you can do it. But we're literally from the disability space. We're from the advertising space. We're
entertainment space.
Yeah. So you can imagine like we use this to help people in their online and virtual experiences. That's for people that are reselling, and in the Microsoft kind of universe, that's kind of our lane right now. And so, but we don't have a ton of experience with dealing with the military or defense contractors. So something like this where we can kind of show our technology, but B, we can also learn as well. We don't.
And you might partner with the people seeing your technology. You might decide, hey, the fastest route for you guys to be able to execute on this is maybe partnering with a big company. I don't know if it's a Lockheed or Raytheon or Northrop, any of those, right? BAE, any of those. So you are the perfect example in my mind of a company that came out of the private sector that had a really cool technology that has multiple applications and should be leveraged by our national security interests.
Yes, I think we could have, if Snowden had walked out. I was bringing him up, but if Snowden had walked out, he walked out with that jump drive, and he walked out with it in his pocket or wherever he hid it, and then, but if those files were our files, CHIF files, he would have sat down, plugged them in his laptop, and the telemetry and analytics, they would have said, hey, this guy on this IP address has it. VPN doesn't work on something like this, so let's send him to jail. Yeah, we would. No,
they couldn't have done it. It would have done him no good, right? He would have done.
Yeah, he couldn't have opened them because they'd be the files themselves would be encrypted, as opposed to a JPEG, a Word doc. They don't really know who, or a movie file, an MP4 file. They really don't know who they're being opened by, and they don't care. They're just a naked file. So what we do is we blend the files together. So let's say you have the text file that authorizes the classified use of this image or this movie. Then you have the vocal authorization and so you wrap that up, you bind it, you encrypt it at different levels. Okay, I have the security to see the redacted file, but not the whole thing. Then what I can do is, so you can imagine then if I put everything in CHIFs and then the US decides, or the enough time passes, okay, it's time to declassify these documents, we can now in the same file give you another key to
open it up and decrypt them.
Yeah, and so
declassify it. Yeah.
Right, and then then we can just dispel all the moon landing conspiracy theory stuff, and so they really went. Yeah. And so
so an ideal client or partner for you is any large company that wants to embed this capability, this technology in their software and what they're doing, right?
Correct.
And that could be you're working with Microsoft, that could be other companies, but it could also be, of course, the Air Force and all this. They write their own code, et cetera, software, et cetera, NASA, et cetera. Any of these where they're really concerned about security, they're really concerned about managing information and files, et cetera, right? Data rights management, associating different kind of file types together. And they're also interested in making sure that they're not adding to the code and making it bigger and bigger and more cumbersome.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to add a layer that if it's like body armor. If you could wear something that's 4-inch plate steel, but you couldn't walk around it, right? So when the
Tony Stark's nanotechnology thing was way bigger than his giant Hulkbuster thing, right?
And he puts it in a watch. That's us. Yeah, that's
you're in the watch. That's really cool. Anyway, I think you've done a really good job of kind of explaining at a high level the value proposition of what you guys do. Well, thank you very much for being our title sponsor of the America's Future Series, National Security Dual Use Technology Series. I hope Summit. I hope people will come join you and hear you guys speak, and all of the others. And and because of you, we're able to bring VCs, private equity firms, angels, the fuel, and you guys have just gotten a pretty significant injection of capital to help you guys take off to the next level. So that's great. But we want to do that for others, and we want to thank you for enabling that to happen for others, right? So by your being the host, we're able to create sort of an ecosystem, put people together, and so I'm very happy for you and proud of your success, but also want to say thank you because you're trying to help the greater community succeed as well.
Thank you. This is a huge platform for us, and we're grateful to participate, and we're humbled that we're being asked to participate. The people that you've brought to this thing, the level of people of person at this thing. I mean, you've actually gotten people involved that can get things done and make things happen and kind of really push the needle in terms of bringing American innovation forward. I mean, we were a disability company and a marketing tool until we realized that we could encrypt the files like separately, and it's in our patent, and we're like, okay, what do we do now? Yeah,
multiple uses. Yeah.
And so now we can we go from doing something that could that would help this, and that's a big thing, that we can help disabled people or people with disabilities, and that's a huge thing to us. But the idea of being able to make the United States and its interests a more secure, better, safer place for our people in uniform and the people they protect that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, those are both great call-outs,
huge.
and we're really proud of you and grateful that you're involved in this. So I'm just going to give everybody the date. It's February 22nd. Go to afseries.com or just Google America's Future Series. We have General Keith Alexander, who we're honoring for his contributions to technological innovation and national security with the Radegui Award. We have Secretary Gertz, who's the first recipient of that, presenting it to him. And we just have a host of panels and fireside chats that we think will be really interesting for everybody to see. And you'll be hosting that, and we look for everybody to join us. And if you have any questions, if anyone has any questions, please reach out to me, to David at americasfutureseries.com. So thank you, Ken. I want to thank you again, and hope you have a great day.
Thank you guys so much for having us, and we're really, really excited to be here and see here. We're really excited to be here, and we're going to have a great event.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.